The Commanders come up short in their Week 2 game against the Lions. We will break down all the high and low lights from the Motor City. Plus, head coach Ron Rivera weighs in on the team's second half effort. We react to what went wrong for Washington early against Detroit. And don't let the final score bring you down. There were some positives from Sunday's loss. We send Logan and Santana into the film room to break it all down. And with 2 games under his belt, we evaluate Carson Wentz's addition to the offense as he begins a big week preparing for his former team. And welcome on into Command Center. Julie Donaldson here with you, along with Logan Paulsen and Santana Moss. Okay, Week 2 did not go as we anticipated or expected, and certainly not that first half. Can you give me one word, Logan, to describe kind of how you're feeling after this one on what is a Misery Monday?
I think frustrated is the word I'm going to go with. I think there were just some confounding things that were a little confusing, and guys didn't perform as well as I thought they would, and that's always a little bit frustrating.
And you just spoke about confusing. I was confused. I was confused watching it, just knowing what these guys brought to the table Week 1, and then to see them start that game the way they did in the first half. I just couldn't wrap my head around it.
You know, I was trying to debate between 2 words, frustrated and confused. And we didn't talk about this ahead of time, but I have a feeling that's what most of the fans are feeling right now as well. So let's recap this one and see why we're feeling the way we are right now, and then we'll talk about what we need to do to get on track. So Washington's not won in Detroit since 2008, losing their last 4 trips prior to Sunday. Of course, that extends. The defense, though, looked like they were setting the tone early. Jamin Davis heard what defensive coordinator Jack Del Rio said. He wanted more. His second career sack to force the Lions to punt on the opening drive, Logan.
I love the tempo here. Love the urgency that Jamin showed after getting called out by the coach. Love that.
3-0 Detroit. Commanders after a 4th down stop on their own goal line. Carson Wentz stripped by Charles Harris, goes out for a safety. 5-0 Lions.
That's tough, man. Tough.
Got to be better than that.
After the free kick, Detroit marches right down the field. Jared Goff to Amon-Ra St. Brown, 13-yard score, 12-0 now Santana.
A little too close, too soon, too late, whatever you want to call it. That's been a story of our defense.
That it was. And after a field goal made, it was 15-0. Josh Reynolds gets behind the D. Goff finds him. 22-0 Detroit at the break. Ouch, Logan.
Yeah, I love the play pass there to set up that touchdown by Detroit.
To the second half, Washington fights back. They take the second half kickoff right down the field. Curtis Samuel showcasing his toughness, getting knocked out right there, hangs on their 15-yard score. It is a 22-7 now game, Santana.
Great play, great, just concentration, everything, man. Great catch.
Same score late in the third. Wentz zips one in a tight window for Logan Thomas. That's good for 20 yards, Logan.
I mean, fantastic play design here on the scissors concept. Corner, post, sneaks in behind that corner route for an easy touchdown, and again, the big man makes an easy catch.
That's his first touchdown since Week 13 of last season. Washington going for 2. Jahan Dotson on a nice route. Santana.
There you go. We've been calling this man every week now.
Lions answer, though. Goff under pressure. DeAndre Swift. He falls down. He gets up. He scampers, and he scores.
Oh, my. That's incredibly frustrating. There's that word again.
Fourth quarter, Commanders would not go away. Antonio Gibson stretching the ball across the goal line from a yard out. Once again, it's a 1-score game, Santana.
It ain't over. We still breathing.
Yeah, I love how Gibson ran all day. It was not a lot of yards there, but he ran tough. It's good to see him running like that.
And an interesting choice. They go for 2. The extra point would have made it a 7-point game, and Wentz not successful. It's picked off.
Yeah, tough there. Good thing it doesn't count.
Ensuing Lions drive. St. Brown once again as he had a monster afternoon. Detroit is back up 2 scores after this one. And then late in the 4th, Dotson becomes the first rookie since Terry McLaurin in 2019 with a touchdown grab in his first 2 NFL games, Santana.
Oh, man, this kid right here, can he do anything else but catch touchdowns?
He makes it look like it was just perfect.
What a play.
Joey Sly, though, would miss the point after the onside kick. It would fail as well. Commanders dropped their 5th straight game in Detroit by the final of 36-27. It really was a tale of 2 halves on Sunday. Washington was shut out in the first half for the first time since Week 14 of last season against Dallas and held to just 56 total yards. Compare that to the second half. Washington had a total of 27 points and 340 yards on 40 offensive plays.
First half was very ugly. I got to be better. We got to stay on the field. We got to execute better. Again, we got to look at the tape, but it just seemed like one little thing here and there, and next thing you know, it was the end of the first half. And it was very ugly, very ugly. So proud of the way the guys responded coming out the second half. We know what we're capable of. I think we showed it again, but we just got to be consistent. We got to be consistent. We can't do that early in the game. The league is too hard to win, and we can't do that to ourselves and dig ourselves a hole like that.
Honestly, I think we played better. I think the guys on the offensive line really buckled in and hunkered down. Thing to their credit too is they knew we had to throw the ball, and we were still able to move it the way we did. We're still able to protect the way they did for the most part. The receivers came up big in the second half, made some big plays. I mean, some outstanding football plays that give us a chance. But we got to match that in all three phases. We can't get ourselves trapped down there. We can't give up a big kickoff or a big punt return. We can't miss kicks. I mean, there's a lot of things. And again, as I said, it starts with us. We got to make sure we're putting them in position to have success. I mean, the thing I was proud of, they didn't quit. Nobody quit. They came out and they played their asses off in the second half.
Time for our mission debrief, brought to you by the Washington Times. Way too slow of a start for the team to overcome, trailing 22-0 at the half. But we saw in the second half, if whatever adjustments that they made is what we were expecting from this offense, from Carson Wentz, from the receiving core that he had, because we were able to see Terry McLaurin making plays, Jahan Dotson making plays, Curtis Samuel making plays, Logan Thomas making plays. I just don't know why it took so long for that to happen, Logan. You see what they're capable of, and the reason they didn't get started early.
Yeah, I think the big thing for me after watching that game and rewatching it again this morning is that Detroit came out with bad intentions. They came out with a physical, fast mindset. They were an aggressive blitzing football team, and they executed their game plan perfectly, and I think they deserve a lot of credit. And I think the Commanders and the coaching staff here was caught a little on their heels, and that's a tough way to start a football game. And I like how they were able to kind of redirect and correct that in the second half, but you can't win football games doing that. I think we all know that.
I think the thing that I left from watching that game, what I was questioning, how wasn't we prepared to start fast in the first half? We knew Detroit, just watching Hard Knocks alone, these guys are going to play tough. These guys are going to play to the end, to the last whistle. We saw that against, those guys against the Eagles last week. So the intensity that we played with week 1 at home, we had to match their intensity, knowing that this was going to be a big game for them, knowing that they started the season 0-1, and they had us to rewrite that. So I was confused, like I said before, and I just didn't understand how offensively we allowed ourselves to get so far behind.
And you knew that Detroit was capable of putting up points. I mean, last week against Philadelphia, they put up 35 points. They just allowed the Eagles to put up 38. In fact, in the last 6 games, they've been averaging 25 points a game. So you knew that their offense was going to come out and that they would fight hard for that, as well as we certainly saw. The defensive line for Washington really kind of struggled throughout this game, and that's supposed to be a strength for this team. But John Allen goes in with a groin injury. You could see he was a little bit hobbled, not as dynamic as you probably would normally be if he was healthy. Fedarian Mathis is out for the season. And then throughout the game, you lose 2 other depth players as well. What did you see from their effort that they were unable to really be as successful as they wanted?
Well, I think, they played with great effort. Allen and Payne are guys that you count on and can trust, and Payne had an outstanding game, and Allen got some pressures, and they all did good things, but they can't do it for 80% of the snaps. That's not what they're built for. That's not how defenses are designed in the NFL. Guys need a rotational element, right? And that's where Big Phil and not having a body like that really hurts you, right? When you want to play Cinco, when you want to get those 5 defensive linemen out there, not having those depth pieces kills you because it gets guys tired, puts guys in bad spots, and doesn't speak to certain skill sets. And
they allowed 191 rushing yards. Of course, they did have that one long one by DeAndre Swift, was at 59 yards as well, that skews it, but still, it was averaging 8 yards a carry. If we talk about the secondary, Santana, what did you see from them? Because it still seemed like there was a good bit of miscommunication.
You said it, man. Me and Logan been talking about this for the entire summer. Miscommunication, guys that we feel like there are vets that should be able to play a little better, play at a high level, just have to buckle down and do so. It's enough talking about it. I'm pretty sure these coaches see it. I'm pretty sure they see it. I'm not here to tell you how good of a player you could be. I'm here to tell you what you should be doing when I see it's not being done. And I think these guys have to step up and just say, hey, earn it. Or, own it rather than earn it. Own it and let's say, hey, we have to play better. It starts with us in the secondary. We have to be a tougher, group, and we need to see that coming this week.
And again, Detroit deserves a lot of credit there for the mental miscue in the secondary. They schemed up a play that challenged the rules of Washington. So, how prepped are those guys? Do they know what they're looking at? Again, it's tough to see that because against our defense during training camp, they didn't do that. So tough to see.
Well, as Coach Rivera did say, it's got to be the coaches that get the players in the right position. A lot of film to go over on this one as they do get prepared for the Philadelphia Eagles coming up next week. And coming up in this show, still rookie Jahan Dotson continues to turn heads with every catch that he makes. My goodness. We'll have another look at his touchdown in Detroit. Plus, we send Logan and Santana into the film room to highlight some of the key moments from Sunday's loss and why you should be optimistic going forward.
Wentz throws for it, goes to Dotson. Did he catch it? Yes! Touchdown! Touchdown, Washington.
Well, if you couldn't run it in, why not just throw it up and over and trust your rookie, because you know he's good at making plays late in the game.
Man, we've talked about best hands in the draft coming out, and Jahan Dotson has showed it over and over in this ball game and 2 games since he's come into the NFL.
It is fun watching the rookie work. He now has 3 touchdowns in the first 2 games. The first time that has happened in franchise history since Charlie Brown back in 1982. It's a good 40 years, folks. Now, despite the score not being what Washington wanted, there were bright moments like Dotson in this game. And to get more of those moments of what we want to see going forward, well, we send Logan and Santana into the film room.
Julie, thanks so much. We're going to take a look at some positive things from this game. I know after that first half it felt a little doom and gloom, but these skill position guys in Carson Wentz I thought executed really nicely in the second half.
Indeed.
Let's take a look at this play. You know, we couldn't decide whether this was, you know, dagger or knife, but essentially you get like a quick through here by Terry, you get a dig here by the outside guy, and a clear route over here which holds,
which is so important.
Yeah, holds this safety where he's at there. So love that. And again, there are some nuances here in Terry's route that you pointed out to me that I think are pretty cool.
Yeah, one of the things I love the most is in order for him to run this route and get across this guy's face in a timely fashion, I mean, this guy's he's manned up, but he has his hips open because he wants Terry to go ahead and take that, take that path. Right. But what Terry does at the top of that route is he straightens him up.
Yeah,
now
vertical, right?
He has to make sure, being a DB, being a one-time DB back in my Part Warner years, I have to respect that move, because if I'm like this and then Terry straightens me up, I have to come center. So because you never know, he might give me this or this.
Right.
So that little hint right there allowed him to get open.
Yeah, and that's something I've seen you do before.
Yeah, all the time.
Playing receiver, and you love that. And again, like this is man-to-man coverage, so Terry knows, right?
Yeah.
These guys are all locked up here. It's, you know, they got man here, kind of press, man here on the tight end, and again, like that knowing it's man coverage allows you to run the route with that level of nuance.
Have so much freedom.
And the reason he can do that is something you pointed out to me immediately. Is that these offensive line
big uglies
do a great job, and we're going to talk about some of the good things they do here once we get to the end zone. Again, like so,
nice throw, nice catch,
great throw. Carson just looks so much more comfortable second half. So again, we talked about how this is man, right? And this guy right here is blitzing. You know, so when this guy sees that Bates is going to pass protect here, he's going to add on. And I think that's what makes Detroit so tough, is they always know how to get to +1 in the rush, right? So you get this blitzer here. Again, if this guy were to add, you think that the reason this guy doesn't add right now is because he thinks it's run. So he tries to get over to fit here, which takes him a little bit longer to run. Love that little game plan nuance, right? But then look, this guy right here, he sees Bates blitz, and he's like, he sees Bates block, and he's like, I'm going to blitz, right?
Blitz,
And so again, like look at this group here though. Protection's short up here, right? They're rushing hard, but again, they give Carson enough time, and he loved the quick release by Carson. Just flicking that ball out of his hand. This is a special play, special route, special protection, and it's something that we wish we could have seen more of in the first half.
Indeed.
So now this is one of my, as a tight end, this is one of my favorite plays, because it's the old leak, right?
Yeah.
You're going to short motion here, you're going to run here, and kind of sneak out in the back there, and it works, Tana, like we talked about, because you got guys doing their job, running routes to hold coverage, and the offensive line does an excellent job selling run here to get these guys on defense to say, I got to step up and attack this, right? And it's really a concept-driven play, and you love that they're calling it at the 50-yard line. Take your shot play there and get a guy open for an easy completion. Again, love the throw by Carson.
Yeah, I remember when we ran this with Kyle Shanahan, and one of the things he's always tell us to do, stay open back here. Backside, stay open. So so the backside route was always a 20-yard comeback. And you can tell it was a comeback. I'm not sure if they run the same concept, but normally when we had a shell on the comeback, we outside release and just set in the honey hole. And right here they have that shell. So I'm thinking that they have the same kind of concept as us.
Yeah, you see Terry kind of finding that soft spot there.
But we knew that this route was designed for this guy here to sneak out the backfield some kind of way. And we just do it with different looks. Had the tight end do it sometime. Running back might do it sometime. Sometimes the Gator might do it sometime.
And you mentioned the running back. The reason that this guy right here, this guy does not fall into this is because the running back is right here, right? And he's holding coverage. So again, everybody has a role here, right? And I love that you pointed that out. And then Terry staying alive on that again. Love that he's calling this at the 50-yard line. Love the design of the play. Again, really taking advantage of an over-aggressive defense. And then this might be my favorite one of the day. And you were kind of saying, oh, why is it your favorite one, Logan? It's a little, kind of inside release, corner, outside release, post here.
Scissors.
Yeah, scissors. And what I love here is on the release here, by taking an inside release by Curtis here, this little inside release here, it sets up a little pick on the linebacker, right? And the linebacker says, oh no, because the other play you run out of this is you run it out here, right? Or a choice. And he says, I need to get here and undercut this route.
And undercut the route,
But by him undercutting it, right, he gets in a trail position on Logan, and I mean, that's easy, right? Logan's not even running that fast, right? It's just the play design, the releases of the routes that lets him get open, right? And let's talk about this throw from Carson Wentz real quick. I mean, look at that, just a dime, right on the big guy's numbers. He doesn't even break stride, hits him right between the 8 and the 2.
Carson knew he had to make up for the one that he missed early in the game. That's the way to make up for it, man, with a tug.
Yeah, and again, a lot of things to be frustrated with, but there's a lot of positive to get you really excited about the direction this offense is going.
Still to come, Commanders wide receiver Curtis Samuel is having no trouble finding the end zone this season. We will take one more look at the Commanders' top performers in Detroit after this quick break. Welcome back. Let's take one more look at the Commanders' loss of Motown, and then we are moving on. Ugly first half capped off by this Josh Reynolds touchdown grab from Jared Goff. It's 22-0 Santana.
Oh, yeah, great play design by Detroit. Defense got caught napping once again.
Yes, stepping up on that run, tough.
Washington clawed back. They got within a score multiple times, including this 20-yarder from Carson Wentz to Logan Thomas. Logan.
Yeah, I love the play design here. Great to see Logan Thomas back on the field making plays.
But Amon-Ra St. Brown, just too much to overcome late. He scores here, makes it a 36-21 game.
Yeah, Fuller playing a little too soft, too easy for that guy to catch that pass.
And after a Commanders touchdown, a missed point after the onside kick, unsuccessful as well. Washington 1-1 on the season after the 36-27 loss. So here's a look at Washington's top performers Sunday in Detroit. Defensive tackle Daron Payne recorded his second consecutive game with at least one sack. On offense, wide receiver Curtis Samuel now has touchdowns in back-to-back games for the first time since 2020, after hauling in his third quarter touchdown. And quarterback Carson Wentz has thrown 7 touchdown passes through his first 2 games, the most by any QB to start their career with Washington. Now, after the game, he joined London Fletcher and myself on our post-game live show.
As you mentioned the second half and scoring and making big plays. You also made a bunch of plays on one particular drive, running the football, using your athleticism and making plays. I said one time you looked like Curtis Samuel in the middle of the field making a guy miss. Was that a situation where you saw how Jalen Hurts was able to make plays running the football against him, or it's just like, hey, nobody's open and I need to make a play for us?
I'm never trying to run. I mean, there might be a couple times a year where we're calling design quarterback runs, but sometimes that's just what it calls for. You know, they were playing good coverage on a couple of those, and got to find a way to move the chain somehow. You know, and I think I'm not trying to run. I'm not trying to go for 100 yards and none of that. Find a way to get a first down or two in a ball game to keep the chains moving is what I'm trying to do here and there, and it worked. It worked a couple times in that drive.
Next game up is Philadelphia. I'm sure there's a certain amount of emotions that come to you for that one. How do you go about assessing this game, knowing that you want to be able to bounce back against the team that drafted you?
Yeah, be right on that one tomorrow. You know, we'll come in, watch the film. We got to learn from this one first. It's the kind of crappy feeling. But yeah, then the NFL's fast and furious. So it's time to turn the page. We'll be turning the page first thing tomorrow morning after we watch this tape. And obviously there will be emotions. There will be a lot of things. But once that kickoff starts, it's just going to be football again, and we got to be ready for it.
Now, we knew this would be a game that they would circle on the calendar. We're kind of glad that it comes at FedEx Field, opposed to coming in Philadelphia for that game, especially given how this one finished. But if you look at the numbers that he's put up, it should be a different story for this. I mean, he's had 2 games now back-to-back, over 300 yards passing, 7 touchdowns thrown as well, but doesn't have both wins for it because of the first half of this game. What do you need to do for him? How does he put this behind him with the emotions going into the game, Logan?
Well, I think, Carson's a pro. He's played a lot of football in the NFL, and I know that sounds cliche, but guys, you develop mechanisms for getting past these games and on to the next thing, and I think he's going to be very, very ready, very, very prepared in terms of kind of his focus for Philadelphia. We talked about how emotional that would be for him. So I think this will be easy. Kind of flush this one onto the next and get ready for a good game at home against Philadelphia.
Easy. Is it that easy, Santana?
Never that easy. I think one of the things that's going to stand out is that he's going to hear it time and time again throughout the week from the media. And as a human, you're going to have that moment with yourself and just think about it a little bit. Say, hey, what does this game mean to you? But what means more? Us winning or me worrying about my years in, Philly and all the drama that went on with it? So I think, to the credit of what Logan just said, he's a pro. He's going to find a way to get past it. But more than anything, what will make it feel better is going out there and win. So
absolutely,
got to get a win.
Most certainly. And we know, again, that they are capable. We've seen this offense function very high-powered. We just didn't see them get off to that hot start. Maybe at home with the fan base behind them, as he said before, it's great to come out to cheers here in Washington as opposed to those boos as well. But do they change the game plan going into this one?
I mean, I think we kind of see what this offense wants to be. They want to be a high-powered, want to push the football down the field, get the ball in the playmaker's hands. So offensively, I don't think you need to. I think you need to maybe reevaluate some of your protection strategies. I think the guys individually did a nice job, but what is the philosophy for the group? And I think that's something you got to see, and that's something that they might tweak. And also, Philadelphia plays a very soft shell, which is going to be very different than Detroit. Should be easier to get touches to guys and let guys make plays.
But Santana, I don't know that their defense will be as aggressive, rushing, blitzing, bringing that pressure. But you do have to keep a close eye this week on the offensive line, especially what goes on with injuries and who's shuffling in and out of there, because that's how the team will go.
That's always key, and I think week to week we will be able to scheme things according to who we have up that week, as far as offensive linemen, key skill guys. So that'll be interesting going forward just to see what we do. But I think when it comes back to talking about the scheme and everything, we just stick to what we know best. But each week you're going to bring something different to that opponent that you face, because they all going to be different guys when it comes to scheme-wise on the defensive side.
The plan, though, of course, is to draw something up that the Eagles can't defend. We will see how this week goes. Thanks for joining us on Command Center. Much more as the week continues on.